Are you looking for an athletic scholarship? You're in the right place. This is the Recruit Me Athletic Scholarship Podcast, the longest-running podcast on recruiting and athletic scholarships. We're here to help your family navigate the recruiting road all the way to an athletic scholarship. He's a recruiting expert and a dad of 2 college athletes. He has a wealth of experience to share. Here's Recruit Me CEO, Brent Hanks.
Welcome to episode 451 of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast. As the introduction said, I'm Brent Hanks, the host of the Athletic Scholarship Podcast, and the owner and CEO of Recruit Me, LLC. Both the Athletic Scholarship Podcast and Recruit Me strive to provide as many free and inexpensive athletic recruiting resources as possible to help student athletes and their families help get recruited to play their sport in college, and to help save time, money, and anxiety in the process. Past the Athletic Scholarship episodes 441, 445, and 448 cover those 3. Go to your favorite podcast app or go to the recruit-me.com website to get all the past episodes. Most of the 450 helpful recruiting education episodes are around 15 minutes long. So jump in and get some recruiting tips and advice. This week's episode is part 2 of a 2-part interview with Kent Mueller. Kent, in episode 449, gave you a look into his son's college football recruitment and college experience at an NCAA Division III school in Ohio. During this interview, Kent gave you approximately 30 minutes of very useful and informative recruiting advice. Today, Kent and I hit on Kent's involvement in high school sports in Missouri and how he and others help to promote and provide information on both high school and college sports and athletes. Let's get into the second part of the interview with Kent Mueller. Let's transition into what you're kind of doing now and how you're kind of involved with high school sports, especially in Missouri. So talk about your Play On Sports projects and the Where Are They Now Wednesday podcast that you do.
Okay, thank you for that. Over time, I realized really how many kids do go on to play in college. It's only a small percentage, certainly less than 10%, 5% that go on to play in college. But given all the high school players, that's a big number. And yes, those that how I describe as living above the fold, that's an old newspaper term when newspapers were still around. The best athletes, you're going to hear on Fox Sports and ESPN, and CBS Sports. You're going to hear about those. You're going to see them on local TV, hear about them on local radio. But that's a very small percent, and very few achieve that level. But there are literally thousands of other kids going on to truly play the sport they love at the next level. And I'm telling you, there are some of them that play it really, really well. You don't have to be a D1 All-American to be a good athlete and have a great career and have it fun for people to watch how well you play the sport. I realized that I knew nothing about so many of these kids that I saw in high school, that we competed against, that were on the same team, that we heard about, but they go on to college, and those are the best ones, and you never hear about them again. So what I thought, I'm going to change that, and I call it Playing On, because these are athletes that are playing on into college. And what I do is I comb the rosters for all 1,100 NCAA D1, D2, D3 teams, and I cover 11 sports, and I develop those rosters, and then I go back in and I look what they do statistically. I rank them. I have leaderboards that I develop mid-year and after the season's over. And then I also look at the awards that they earned. How many of them make all-conference players of the year? There are lots of them that come from this area that go across the country and perform at that level. And you can't see this information anyplace else. Nobody else collects it. Well, that's what I do, and then I bring it back to the local communities. And that's Playing On Sports. I had the good fortune a year ago to meet the good folks at Missouri Sports Network and Scoreboard Guy. They operate out of Bolivar, Missouri, just outside of Springfield, and they had been at it for a while, and they focus mostly on the high school market and also some on the college market. And I kind of have a foot on both sides. I take high school kids from the area, what they're doing in college. So it was a good fit. And right away we said, we have a lot in common. Let's work together. And then that a year ago, we started the Where Are They Now Wednesday podcast that we air every Wednesday morning at 7 o'clock. It's about 30 minutes. And that's where Guy Newcomb and we review what Missouri high school kids are doing in college. The one that aired this morning, it covered both men's and women's basketball as they approach tournaments, but also some of the early happenings in baseball and softball. That's what that's about. This was the 47th week, if I'm not mistaken, this morning, and we haven't missed a week yet, and we're having a good time, getting a good response. So I think this is something we're going to just keep doing into the future.
Well, and we'll have you at the end of this kind of tell us again how you find both of those projects that you guys have and that you pass out. Also, I think you're adding a kind of a newer feature called Missouri Milestones. What is that?
Missouri Milestones that's a purely high school piece. And what that is that, you go around and maybe at your own school, there might have been the top 10 scorers in basketball, maybe the top rushers in football, different statistics. They're out there, but they're not organized very well. Usually some schools do it better than others. Some of that stuff, of course, is lost to history. Some schools have it fleshed out very well. And if you look around, like on the MISHA website, they do a good job. They have, the top few of each stat. And we know there's a lot more out there that just deserve recognition. So we have started Missouri Milestones, which is the umbrella name for the whole project. Underneath there are all-time stat lists for Missouri high schools. The two that we have started out with are career basketball scoring, 1,000 points and more. And we have a boys list and we have a girls list. We have been collecting for a couple of months, scouring different places to come up with that information. We went public with it last week and have gotten a good response, and we're pleased. Schools and individuals now are sending us additional information because we know we don't have a fourth of the information. So we are continuing to look for historical information, people as far back as the 1950s that we have found who are 1,000-point high school score that's on the list. And then, of course, we'll be adding new ones every year as new students cross that threshold. We had two in the last couple of weeks that passed 1,000 points, both girls, and they're still sophomores in high school. So they're going to go perhaps be up in that 2,500 point range. And right now, like I said, I don't think we're a fourth of the way done on finding them, the ones that are out there. And we have a combined, between the two lists, almost 1,300 athletes. That's exactly what we wanted. We wanted that many because that touches on so many people, and we can be the permanent record that everybody can go to. You don't have to worry about changes in personnel at the school and that notebook gets lost with 1,000-point scores. And we've seen that happen, and you kind of want to cry when when that stuff gets lost. So we will be the backup. People will always know that they can come to us and see it anytime they want. And as far as where, on X, that is one of our big outlets, plain_sports. You can find me, and that's where you will find the podcast and the Missouri Milestones. Also, Scoreboard Guy and Missouri Sports Network, they both have websites, and then enlarge X followers. Between the three of us, we combine for unique followers in excess of 20,000, and almost all those are Missourians. So we have good distribution, always looking for more people to pitch in and send us information and to listen and watch our podcasts. Missouri Sports Network has a YouTube page that where you can find not only my podcast, but Missouri Sports Network has a variety of podcasts. And Guy Newcomb is probably the most prolific interviewer of high school coaches and players that Missouri has ever seen. I know that the number of over his career, he has over 6,000 interviews. He does more each week with a variety of coaches and players, and those get aired. And then you can also find those on the Missouri Sports Network website. So, but the best way is to follow us on X, and all of this you can get, including my newsletter, by simply emailing me at plainonsports@gmail.com. somebody emails me there, I will set them up with all the ways to get all of our information.
Well, and I will put all those ways to contact you guys and get on the websites and on X in the show notes for this. If parents, fans, athletic directors, coaches, they want to shoot you a name and maybe hopefully shoot you the stats, they can just email you at playingonsports@gmail.com, right?
Exactly. That's all it takes, and I will respond. I try to get the additions up on the list. It's on a Google Doc, so it is always live. So you don't have to wait to the end of the season to get an update. It is updated as soon as I update it, and I try to do that within 24 hours.
Well, I will not be on any of those lists, but I played with some guys that are going to be on that list. And hopefully I passed them the ball enough that they could score a few points and we won some games. So it's exciting for me to get to see some of my ex-teammates and kids from our area that I played against on that list. I probably gave up some of those points too.
Oh, yes, that's a good point. I suspect that the nearest I came to 1,000-point score was the guy I was guarding.
Well, that's what makes it fun. We remember those guys, don't we?
Oh, yes. His name was Dean.
Well, I'm very good friends with Fred Johnson, which is Missouri's high school all-time leading scorer back from the mid-'80s without the three-pointer. And he still is the leader with like over 3,000 scored points. But it is a big accomplishment to hit that thousand point range in both boys and girls. And you said you're going to be having other sports come online here pretty soon too.
That's correct. And regarding Fred, he is number one. He graduated in 1986 from Wellsville Middleton High School, and he scored 3,552 points, no more than 2 points at a time.
Right, and he beat out an alumni of Wellsville, Billy Roundtree.
Exactly. So essentially the same high school has number one and number two.
But you're not just highlighting those folks; you're highlighting everybody since then, and the anywhere between 1,000 and 3,000 points, and kind of down deep. I hope nobody ever takes that away from Fred.
Now that I did pull up my list here. Fred is number one with 3,552. And keep in mind, we have a lot more to collect. There's more we don't know than what we know. Although I will say that since where I'm looking, I'm tending to find the bigger numbers. It's probably skewed a little bit to the high numbers, but I now have this morning, I found my 150th boy who has scored 2,000 or more points.
And with the boys and the girls, it's kind of like in recruiting. There's a little difference because girls a lot of times they get on a varsity team their freshman year, or small schools get on a varsity team their freshman year. So sometimes it's more skewed toward those 1 and 2A schools and the females, but that doesn't take away from their accomplishment.
Exactly. And that is true both boys and girls. Yes, I grew up in a small town, and I understand that dynamic that if you get a really good athlete, he or she aren't going to have teammates as close to his or her level as what you will have at the larger schools. So they're going to have to share. In the bigger schools, you have to share the ball a little bit more because there's other talent. Smaller school, they're going to be playing to you more. And then also same thing with the competition. So you are absolutely right. And the girls' numbers are actually a little bigger than the boys. Number one for the girls is Leah Cobble from Oran High School, and she graduated 2018 with 3,788 points.
No matter what level you are, or whether you're male or female, you still have to put the ball through the hoop, and that's not always easy.
That's correct. That is absolutely correct.
Well, Kent, I appreciate your time, and we're probably going to have to get a hold of you and Mr. Newcomb and get you guys back on, and we'll talk more high school sports and really stuff like this that you're doing. Give some people some exposure. So if you get on the Missouri Milestones as a sophomore or junior, that's something that you can tell your college coach in your player profile, and that's something that can help give them some information. Say, hey, I am a good player, and so this does kind of coordinate with the recruiting process. It's not just for fun. Even though it is fun, it's not just for fun. It can be used as a part of the business proposition of recruiting.
That's exactly right. It's kind of like, okay, here's a current senior. She's a girl, Sydney Compton out of Palmyra. She's still finishing up her high school career this month. And yes, she can tell a college coach that, okay, I'm 249th on this list, but no, the important number is she has over 1,500 points.
Yes.
So it takes 1,500. Okay, if you don't have 1,500, you can't be in the top 250.
Yeah.
That's amazing to me.
Well, it's fun, and high school sports are still an important part of the recruitment and an important part of just the memories and the friendships as you go on. And I tell families and kids, I said, you don't have to go on and play your sport in college. You don't even have to go to college if you don't want to. There is our opportunities out there for you to play, and you do get a good experience on the field or on the court or in the pool, whatever you decide to do, but also at the dinner table, at the in the college dorm or wherever you are. Those memories and those experiences last for a lifetime.
Exactly, and not every sport. Okay, if you play tennis, you can play tennis pretty much the rest of your life. Football, it's not going to be like that. You're not going to go on and play football with your friends, but you're going to stay athletic. You're going to stay. I mean, if you're a competitor, you're a competitor. And I'll just note that last year, Charlie's competition comes out a number of ways now. Last year, a couple years ago, he started running some half marathons. That got really boring for him. So last year, he did a half of an Ironman, and he is just about to start his training because he's signed up for mid-September for a full Ironman competition. So he just go out and test himself. You can compete even after college.
Well, and I'm 58 years old, and my competitiveness is to be able to get out of my chair without creaking and sounding like snap, crackle, and pop. So yes, do it while you can. That's the big lesson there.
That's right.
Well,
and
Kent,
enjoy it.
Thank you for your time, and thank you for all the information. And like I said, maybe we can kind of get together and we'll maybe dig in even a little bit more to what you guys went through, because our goal is try to help other families maybe not have the stress and the anxiety and the questions that you and I had as we went through this. And it's kind of nice to share that with other people and hopefully help them.
Well, I've enjoyed this, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you very much, Kent.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks again to Kent, and check out all the links in the show notes. Join me next week for another 15 minutes that will change your athletic scholarship future on the Athletic Scholarship Podcast.